So, hello everyone. Our podcast today is going to be inspired by the cultural criticism I did on 90 Day Fiance. So, it's featuring Cecilia, one of my closest
Hi.
friends and fellow students at ASU, and Jordan Cruz, my wonderful and charming boyfriend.
Hello.
So, first of all, let's get a gist of the series. So, Cecilia, you go first, ladies first. How do you view the series in general?
Okay. I love 90 Day Fiance because it's so funny. Like the way that the couples interact, like sometimes they get so confused when they're talking to each other because they don't speak each other's languages correctly. And I don't know, I think it's so funny. I like watching it.
And would you say that you've seen all of them or just focused on some?
I think I've seen like episodes from every different like spin-off of it and 90 Day Fiance too.
And then you, Jordan, how do you see the series as someone who doesn't watch it often or just started getting into it?
It's cringy.
Can you explain why?
Well, from the little bit that I have seen, it's like, how do I explain it? Like, it's obviously it's TV, it's reality TV, but it's too much. Like, I don't know, a little try hard, I guess, to be TV, Because everything I've seen, it's just so obvious that, like, one person doesn't like the other while the other is, like, chasing false hope, I guess.
So you're saying it's very staged in the sense that either one person is trying to get something from the other and one of them is just hopelessly in love or think they're in love?
Yeah.
All right. Um, so let's go on to the next question. So let's see which couples stand out to you guys, or maybe just one certain couple that you like. So Cecilia,
What couple stands out to me?
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Well, obviously, like right now, Ed and Rose are like what all I've been seeing online.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's one of the examples like of what Jordan was saying that one of them is um like in love with the other one and the other one only wants them just to get to America. But I don't think that all of them are like that. Like like that picture right there where the girl is holding the wig. I think that I
Right.
don't know. Yeah. That one, the couple, I think that they actually liked each other, but it was just a lot of fighting because the families didn't like each other.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know.
So
I
do you
don't know.
know who this family is, Cecilia?
Yeah, it's it's Pedro and Chantel. And he's from the Dominican and she's like a nurse from Atlanta, I think, but I think it was they're the same age too. Like a lot of the couples you see on there are one of them's like way older and like I'm not trying to be rude, but like ugly. But they're like equally attractive, I would say, and they're the same age.
So you think that just because one of them is coming from out of the United States, they're assuming that he's no good for her, even though they're the
Yeah,
same age and equally attractive. And if it happened in the United States, there would be no problem.
yeah, because like right away the parents like wanted to do like get a private investigator on him, but I don't think that if he was like from America, they would want to do that.
So did you say? So you said that with Ed and Rose, you saw that pattern, or you see that some people are hopelessly in love, and the other person's just trying to come to America. Is that because
Yeah,
you see that in the show?
yeah, because like there was like literally this one girl and I don't know if you know it, her. I think she was from Russia, I think,
Hmm.
and she like literally said like, I married you because you told me that you were a millionaire, and he was lying to her. She was like, and you're not, so I'm really mad. So
Uh-huh.
like, I mean, at least she was honest about it, you know. But she kind of made it obvious that she only wanted him to move here to America.
Yeah, so I'll bring up my paper too because in my paper, um, I was talking about how 90 Day Fiance is misrepresenting immigrants in a negative way. So as you're saying that, oh, it's showing that immigrants are only coming after people to get into America. Um, I certainly wasn't arguing that they weren't, but I was arguing that they had their own challenges. And I'd say I would disagree with you that it was. I mean, she clearly stated, "I'm only coming here because you're a millionaire," but he still decided to bring her over and got stuck with her.
Yeah,
And I think that's also part of their a pattern that we don't see, that they're lying to people in a different country, trying to lure them in so that they'll stay with them because they're alone and they're like, I don't want to, I can't, either they can't get someone from the United States or they need a one up on someone else. That sense of, I have power over you because I can get you into the United States legally. What about you,
yeah.
Jordan? What kind of couples are standing out to you?
I've only really seen one,
Mm-hmm.
and that was Ed and Rose. You know,
What?
it was like what you guys said before. I know it's very putting immigrants in not the best light
Yeah, like painting
because
them a certain
yeah,
way.
exactly. Because one of the topics that coming up between Rose and her sister was like, "Oh, this man has a lot of money. You know, he can take care of me. You know, I can have a better life," which isn't bad. You know, wanting a better life isn't bad, but you know, thought the premise was about fall in love. You know, but they kept talking about, "Oh, this guy has money."
Well, what do you think? Do you think Ed was in the right to question her about her past, ask her an STD test, um, and continuously ask her, even though she felt uncomfortable, as you can see that she's like, I don't want to talk about the past because it hurt a lot. In her broken English, she couldn't communicate very well, and I imagine that must be frustrating. But do you think that because she was asking that with her sister and he didn't know about it a lot, that he had a right to ask her about it?
Um, I kind of see both parties, like you know, the rights and wrongs of both parties, because how do I say it? Like Rose really wasn't giving him anything about the past, and but then again, he's also just going off of you know, hey, she seems really popular on social media, and she's kind of from you know not the best country in the world. You know, I don't know what kind of girl she was in the past, but at the same time, Rose was just like, oh no, the past just hurts too much. Like that to me doesn't really seem like you know she was. That shouldn't give Ed any reason to be like, yeah, you should get an STD test. It's like, whoa, you gotta calm down. You know, that's pretty insulting, you know, to her. But you know, at the same time, she could have simply said, you know, what the one sentence she gave Ed, all he was looking for. You know, just the dad left, hurt her a lot. That's just about it. But I also understand why she didn't want to tell him because it hurt her too much. She didn't want to think about it.
Um, what's the next one? So as I said before, 90 Day Fiance is promoted as a reality TV show. But as I was doing a lot of research for my paper originally, I saw that a lot of the most dramatic or maybe moments that painted the immigrant or the person coming in very negatively were staged. Um, I can't remember off the top of my head which one it was, but I know that there was a certain, I think it was Annie. There was a certain person that came in from outside the United States, and they were harshly criticized, and then she went off on people on social media and was like, okay, that wasn't real. I was told I needed to do that to bring in more revenue, bring in more views, and that she would never actually want to harm someone. I think she slapped someone. I'm not sure. Um, or that she said something. I can't remember. But how do you think that being promoted as a reality show and not being actual reality affects the show's like authenticity?
Well, that's 90% of reality TV. None of it's real.
Yeah.
You know, they can throw that, they can slap that title on there all the time they want. You know, hey, watch this reality TV show. If you think it's real, that's a whole other problem. But
Um, I
come
mean,
on,
I
and then
yeah.
and then when they do the confessionals, like I'm pretty sure like they ask them questions that will make them say like certain things to like start stuff to
instigate.
yeah to like instigate and, yeah so they
Yeah,
could
and it
have
makes
more
sense.
drama.
Yeah, it makes sense that they'd want to. It sucks, but it makes sense that they'd want to put the immigrant in the worst light because it's an American TV show. You know, it doesn't seem like the best thing ever
To make the American look like they're wrong.
to
Yeah.
make the American, you know, hey, I'm gonna take you from this place and I'm gonna treat you horribly for the sake of you no longer living in, you know, your from what I've seen, impoverished home. I'm not sure if everybody else is like that, but if it were viewed that way, it would just seem awful on the American. You
Hmm.
know, it's all like, why are you gonna go out of your way to someone out of your country just to treat them horribly?
Mhm.
You know, which sucks, but you know, that's the way it is.
Um, so coming off of all that, we're seeing that Americans are often portrayed negatively. Um, do you see a pattern with that in real life, not just in the show?
I don't. Wait,
um
what do you mean?
That immigrants are painted negatively compared to what Americans do in media.
like in general or like
Well, if you want an example,
couples like
um,
that are like that.
there's people who call ICE on Spanish speaking employees, claiming that, oh, I'm going to call ICE to get you kicked out, even if they don't know if they're documented or not. Just the threat of calling ICE, having that power over them. Is that something you still see today or still see as a pattern?
Well,
Like
yeah, it's you know, it's 2020. Everybody has social media, as opposed to back in the day where you know, I'm pretty sure all this was always happening. It was just we couldn't see it as often. You know, being able to get news instantly from something that happened on the other side of the country is, you know, you're going to be exposed to a lot more stuff like that. So, personally, have I seen it in person? No, but yeah, I've seen it on social media a lot because you see everything there.
yeah, and like we see how like the president talks about immigrants too, so obviously
Mm-hmm.
there's like you know.
Um, and then I think that something viewers are underestimating is that these people are leaving their home countries with nothing. They're leaving their families, and some of them don't even know that some of the people coming over have children. and they're like, I want to live here, but send money back to them or have them come here eventually. Um, uh, and we don't think about it too much. And I think because often um, either we identify with the American too much or we don't identify with them at all. We treat them as an outcast. We're like, well, obviously, that's just like one in a million. But we're not realizing that there's more people that do this and that bring people in from home countries or from different countries and have this sense of power over them just for bringing them here in the first place and that they should be thankful. Um, so I'd say for my main question, as viewers, did you pay attention to that or do you more watch it for entertainment?
Um,
Uh, go ahead, Cecilia. Something came up real quick. I'll be right back. I'll give my
Okay.
answer as soon as I come back.
I think that goes both ways because like I've seen like the image every I left everything like so let me like one of the there's like a lot of like problems that you can start from or well it didn't even do anything that bad. She just like modeled in line that her husband did it too. But she was saying like left everything and you don't want me to do this, which I'm not saying he's right about not wanting her to do that. Like, you know, women, whatever they want. It goes both ways. You know what I mean? Like they say, oh, I left everything, so treat me right. Or the American can say, like, brought you here, so grateful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And before we get to the questions, I just wanted to go through my paper. I'm not going to read it to you. I just wanted, I felt like there was something towards the end that I wanted to bring up. Yes, it was Annie. She was defending herself. Um, that one of the scenes was scripted, and she even said it's amazing how people will only hear one side of a story and immediately attack other parties. But I think one of my biggest examples of or one of my biggest things with 90 Day Fiance is you really see how these people get a sense of entitlement, like with Big Ed and um, other men and women. Like you have Baby Love or Lisa with the in Africa, then and it usually is with people who are in impoverished countries. But I'd say, what is it?
You think that Danielle felt entitled like that?
Yes, did you read my
Which
paper? Yes,
I'm looking
I
at it.
okay.
That was one of like the craziest like
Yes,
stories I thought, or
it
the
definitely was one of
couple I saw.
the most dysfunctional couples that there was. I think they're number one.
I don't know. There were on both sides. I think they were like both wrong.
Yes, because I know
I saw a lot of.
Mohammed cheated on her and it was like, I just wanted my visa and to get out of here. But at the same time, they're just a person. And she tried calling, or she tried annulling the marriage so he get deported. And I'm like, well, if it were any other case, like if she were to marry someone from the United States, she would just get divorced. She wouldn't try to annul it because it wouldn't do anything to the guy. But I feel like she just felt so cheated because what little power she had over him, like saying, "Oh, I'm gonna get you a visa," was gone. And of course, she had a right to be upset about it, but to go so far as to try deliberately to get him deported, I'm like, that's kind of going too far because he already started his life in the United States. And it's not like he was leeching off of her. He wasn't demanding money.
Yeah.
He was just like, I'm going to go. I don't want to be here with you anymore. And
Yeah,
then,
she just
yeah,
wouldn't leave it.
yeah, she wouldn't leave it alone. And like, again, it continued for a really long time every time they get together, like happily ever after. And there's so many clips out there, them having explosive moments.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, I'm back.
All right. Did you want to continue your answer to that previous question?
Yeah, I can start where I left off.
Yeah. So,
Yes, yeah, I thought. Oh, my bad. Yes.
what's your answer?
Well, no, like, repeat the question. I'm so sorry.
Cecilia, I can't remember my question.
I don't remember what you asked me.
We can move on from that. I thought you said you were thinking about your answer, so I was prepared to let you explain it.
Oh,
Because that's what you said. But me and Cecilia were talking about a certain couple, Danielle and Mohammed from season 2, because their marriage did not work out. Um, Danielle felt her solution was to try to deport him. But throughout the entire season, we saw their explosive moments. Muhammad calling the police on her son, Danielle demanding sex, very explosive and dramatic fights. And I was telling Cecilia that in most relationships outside of this visa, divorces just end up amicably or going their separate ways and leaving each other alone. But I thought she was very entitled to try to uproot Muhammad's new life by annulling the marriage so he'd go back. And I get being upset about him cheating on her or wanting to call it quit. But I felt like it was next level to be like, I'm gonna get you deported and threatening him in person. She would chase him down the street and say, I'm gonna deport you. I'm gonna annul the marriage and get you deported. And he would always tell her, just leave me alone. Leave me alone. And I felt that is something that we don't take for granted, but again, it's a power struggle between two people, and one person has a higher advantage than the other at some point.
right.
hmm So, what do you think about their solution being, I want to deport this person?
That specific solution or solutions of the extreme?
That specific solution, say inside of that visa relationship compared to outside. So if I were to ever upset you, I'm sure you wouldn't be like, I'm going to deport you because you didn't fulfill what you told me you were. You'd probably just break up with me and we'd go our separate ways. But I'm sure you wouldn't ever be like, I'm going to deport you. I think that's a
Well, I mean,
very extreme way
I
to,
don't even have the ability to do that.
yes, but they do, or they think that they do.
Well, it's the extremes, right? So, somebody crosses you or does you wrong, you're just, in the heat of the moment, you're just gonna want to go all out, the most you can do at them, and in that case, it's deportation.
hmm
It's not justified, but you know, because that I don't want to say that
A little bit.
option is there, but because they are from another country, because that relationship did bring them there. It's kind of like maybe I can get this person deported because of what they did to me. All heat of the moment because again, you want to get that person back for what they did to you, whether they cheated, whether they, did, God knows what to get you that mad or upset. But, you know,
Hmm. Uh, so you're saying it's not justified, but that the option is just always going to be there because they.
it's the fact that it's not justified at all.
Mhm.
100%. That's the end of that.
Yeah. Um, and then another part that I noticed is, I think I mentioned it a little before, is that they're they're choosing Americans to portray that we don't relate to, so we don't question them. We're like, well, obviously these people are gonna look outside the United States because we have Colt who lives with his mother and has his two cats. Um, and oh, and then we have I don't remember who that other person is. David who lied about his debt and his drinking problems. Um, and we have a lot of people that we don't really see ourselves like in them. So we're like, oh, they're not really American. Um,
They're hard to relate to.
yeah, because they're so hard to relate to. And so we don't see them as a part of our own culture. And so we don't identify this problem. But most of all,
Actually, I think yeah. There's a point there because the topic right now is being able to relate to them, right?
yeah, that we don't see
It's
a
hard to
problem because we
so
can't
it's
relate to
hard.
them
Yeah, it's hard for there to be sympathy
when we don't
and stuff like
identify
that.
with either of them because we're
Yeah,
like, I'm
because
not an immigrant. Yeah.
they chose extremes for the show, even for the Americans.
Yeah.
Like
And then
that
actually,
34-year-old cult dude who lives with his mom and his cats.
yeah.
It's
Um,
a little weird. Not that I'm bashing
and
on people out there who live with their parents. But like say Big for example, he's not exactly he's a meme right now is all I can say. No
yeah,
one can take him serious. He's not taken seriously whatsoever. You know, from his personality, which is very, I don't want to say controlling from what I've seen.
or
Actually,
he's,
controlling might be the right word.
huh?
Um, and physically, he's not very, doesn't really meet America's U.S. beauty standards.
Uh huh. He doesn't.
So it's just like you're not gonna be taken serious,
Yes.
if you don't fit the social norm, basically. If you
Yeah.
don't fit the social norm, no one's gonna be able to relate to you.
Yeah.
That's
And
true.
that's a big point. Um,
Whether
and
that's
with,
physically, emotionally, or personality wise.
mm-hmm.
If you don't fit that social norm, no one can relate. And that's, I feel like you guys can probably agree, a majority of the, uh, I don't want to call them contestants, but the people on the show, the U.S. side,
Yes.
I'm assuming most of them don't fit social norms from what I've seen so
Yes.
far, because some of them are a little weird.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
all a little weird, but not in like a good way. They're not
Yeah.
quirky.
Would you agree,
Yeah.
Cecilia? Do they not fit
Yes, I
social
do.
norms?
Yeah, yeah, like a lot of them are.
A little
Yeah, like
off.
the guy, like what Valeria was saying about the guy that went to Brazil with like way too much. I don't know. Yeah, they're weird. They're a little weird.
Yeah. And so actually, as you were saying that, how like we don't relate to them, and that actually a lot of people who do go through the K-1 visa or have gone through it say 90 Fiance is very damaging to that process and how people view it because they automatically assume what they see on the TV show, and they're like, it's not really true, um, and that they don't like the stigma that comes with it. That they
Yeah,
assume,
exactly. So
yeah,
for it being an American TV show, Americans don't, and because those people are so extreme in not fitting the social norm, Americans can easily say, "Oh, that's not how we are. That's not us."
yeah.
But since we don't live the lives of the immigrants, we can't relate to them either and be all like, "Oh, they're not really like that." It's automatically, "Wow, I can't believe these people are like this." You know?
And especially part of each season, we're like, who is this? What do they want from this other person? I think that's part of the things that we see. Because, like, when we meet Ed and Rose or any other contestant, I'm just using Ed and Rose because that's what we both know. Um, we meet Ed, who's like, I'm in love with this Filipino woman. And then we meet Rose, and she's like, oh, I love it. He's my king or whatever. But we also hear, I want to take my son to America and get a better life. So we assume that everyone has an ulterior motive, kind of. So we don't really
Mhm.
trust any of their intentions because also we have people like I can't remember his name. There's so many people on 90 Fiance. The one that went to Colombia to meet one woman and he went home with another one because the first one wasn't enough for him. He was like, actually, I like you. You're pretty nice, and he ended up taking her home. Um, and I'm trying to see that quote that I really liked. Um, so we're being shown all these negative couples, but then occasionally we do have couples that stay together for a long time, and that's the kind of couples that Cecilia likes to see or she likes to see happily ever after. So Cecilia, tell me, are there any couples that you think actually are good together?
Um, yeah, I do. I think that I don't remember their names, but it was one girl. She married this guy from like Israel. They were also like the same age, and I remember like they do tell-alls at the end of the season. I remember that she was saying that to Danielle and Muhammad, because Danielle and Muhammad, they were like problematic. She was telling them that they make other couples that are applying to the K1 visa like have a harder chance of getting it because of couples than them, like them. You know what I mean?
Because you mean like couples who get together and break up, or just because the way
Or
they
just
act?
like the way that they act makes it seem
It makes it look
like the way that
trashy.
Muhammad was acting. Yeah, like the way that Muhammad and Danielle were acting, it makes it seem like they shouldn't be giving out K1 visas. Um, and she was telling them that, but I think that that couple was like really good together because like they got along. They fought, they had arguments, but they weren't like extreme like the other ones. Well, obviously too, probably the producers like had them argue, but I don't know. I like them.
So I think one of my strongest points in this was again, um, we call it a reality show, and I think some of it isn't scripted. I know not all of it is 100% true, but they are choosing people who are like, I'm gonna get a K1 visa with this person. They have to get cast. So I think sometimes we do get genuine love in other places, and it's not common. But the most toxic part is that someone seeking out a partner in a foreign country with the intention of changing them or interrupting their life with no regard for their culture, and can't really be trusted. And it's often the motives of the Americans that are the most alarmingly questionable from the article written by Starling. Um, and it talks about the how 90 Day Fiance is kind of like the fetish fantasy for Americans. But again, we're not identifying with said Americans. We want to believe that we're better. Um, So I'd say for that, if you weren't hearing the word American or immigrant, what would you think if you just heard that part of uprooting someone from their home and disrupting their life? Does that not sound toxic or does it?
Yeah, I feel like it does sound toxic because I don't know, it's putting a lot of how do you say? I don't know what the word is. It's putting a
It's
lot of
toxic.
like what was saying? Sorry.
It's like, oh,
Oh,
my bad.
no, you can go.
It's like as toxic as it sounds. They kind of know what they're signing up for.
I'd say not all of them does because as we see, some people lie. The only way that they can communicate is through social media, calls, FaceTiming. So what proof do they have to say they're not who they say they are? We know Big Ed lied about his height, um, and he lied about wanting kids. And we have other situations like with David where he lied about his debt. Um, Jorge, I think he was the one with Anfisa. He lied about being a millionaire.
Yeah, that's the one that I was like, my mom. I was watching it with my mom, and she was like, "Oh my God, that girl's so this." That. I was like, "No," but like he lied to her.
Yeah, and we overlooked
I was
that.
yeah, I was telling her I was like, if some guy from another country like offered me a mansion, said he was a millionaire, like why not? I'm just kidding. No, but you know what I mean, like,
Yeah,
and
they
then he lied to
they're
me.
being
Why
Heck
not?
no.
You're not kidding. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
be
know.
kidding.
Like,
What the heck?
yeah, I know. I know. Like that's what
I'm
I
in
was telling my
this.
mom. I was that's what I was telling my mom though. Like I feel like I would probably go, and if he lied to me, I would be pissed like her.
yeah, and so that's kind of the thing that we're getting into is that uh at the end of the day, I think 90 Day Fiance is incredibly entertaining, but it's not an accurate portrayal of the K-1 visa process or immigrants coming in from other places. But most importantly, its inability to portray it in a positive way um, is very damaging to the idea of immigrants or immigration coming in. But overall, I mean, it's something we can still relate to because we have certain couples that we feel more emotionally connected to, or we feel bad for certain people because we're like, oh my God, this person's so mean. Or like when we're like, this person lied to them. Um, and then I just wanted to know if you guys had any questions for me and about
Um,
my paper or about this in general.
I don't know. Why did you choose 90 Day Fiance for the paper?
I chose 90 Fiance because at the time uh, I was watching the Tanya and Sinjin clips because she's the one who likes to smell armpits. That like they broke up, he came back, and the first thing she did was smell his armpits because she's like obsessed with his hair, the armpit hair. And I thought that was so
What?
funny. I thought that was hilarious. But I overlooked the fact that they were living in a shed in her mom's backyard. Uh, and a lot of people have something like that, like the Colt, who's like, "Oh, we're gonna move out," but she gets there and she's like, "We've been living here with his mom for like 2 months now," and she's like, "Are you making any processes to find a new house?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know how I feel about leaving my mom alone," but even though he told her already, I he was like, we'll move out. We'll have our own house." Because she's like, that's what husband and wife do. So I definitely thought I could get deeper with this topic, something that everyone finds entertaining, and it gets popular each season that comes out. We got like the popular couple and Rose, obviously, this season for before the 90 days. So I thought it was something that, because it's so popular and entertaining, I could use it to reach a bigger audience. That was my main reason. And plus, it's funny. Any other questions?
Mm,
No?
no, not that I have.
All right, then I think that's the end of our